Jameis Winston attempts to beat his old team for the first time ever, but does he have what it takes?
Climb aboard with Steven and Scott and batten down the hatches.
If you're a Saints fan, let me know. Do you guys enjoy watching the games this year? Are you enjoying watching Jameis? Because I don't know if I would call it enjoying it when we had to watch him. It was definitely, interesting every game.
Yeah.
I don't know if I went into the game this is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
This is going to be hard to watch. Hopefully it turns out our way, though.
It was like that feeling you get when you're watching a stunt person trying to execute something really death-defying.
Yes.
And it could turn out amazing and be really cool, or it more often than not would just be a dumpster fire.
Yes, that's a good summation.
Every time he dropped back to pass, I was just like, this could go one of two ways, and it's probably going to go the way I don't want it to go.
I remember every time he threw the ball out of the screen, right? You don't know where it's going. You're just like, oh boy. To me, QB comparisons don't really mean that much. It's not like Tom Brady's playing against Jameis Winston on the opposite side of the field. You pointed out the turnover-worthy play percentage is probably the biggest stat on this sheet, which Jameis has cut down on that a lot. You had said off camera he's got training wheel offense to some degree.
Yeah,
which, if it works for you, it works.
I saw somewhere that New Orleans has passed the ball the least in the NFL this season.
Yes, we just did see that.
Obviously, Sean Payton has the reins on Jameis Winston quite a bit. He's not allowing him to freelance and have those opportunities to have these boneheaded plays. He's still holding the ball at an alarming rate, almost a full second more than Brady is on average.
Yeah, that was another thing, too, watching Jameis. If you see him pull the ball down and start to scramble, that was another point where you're just like what's about to happen here?
When he takes off to actually run, he does a lot better. Even as a Buc, if he pulled the ball down and just ran it, I almost welcome that.
Yeah,
much more during the time he was with us.
That's actually a good point, because Jameis last week against the Seahawks actually ran for 40 yards here, and Kamara had 51, so they're definitely letting him be a little bit more mobile, and maybe because he has to be. I mean, other than Kamara, they're really not getting any yards. Between Jameis running for 40 and Kamara catching 128 and running for 51 himself, that's a big amount of the Saints' yards in the last game. So it's going to be hard, in my opinion, to beat the Bucs with only relying on one or two players, especially if one of them is Jameis himself. That's
a great point too, is if you can stop Kamara, which the Bucs have been pretty good about limiting his big plays, not as much in the passing game.
I mean, you pointed out too, in this game, they were running a lot of little screen plays, or he was out on as a wide receiver and they run a screen to him. The Bucs could be susceptible to that. If they're moving Kamara outside and getting him the ball instead of just running it with him, that could be problematic. Make that the main focus of the defense, and Winston will probably start making some mistakes.
Yeah, definitely.
He still holds the ball as long as he ever has. Their offensive line's not amazing.
They actually haven't played as well as they've played in the past, obviously. They've had some injuries up front. Andres Pete just went out in this last game with a torn pec. They have a backup coming in for him at left guard now. Ruiz, the right guard, he's a little bit susceptible, so having those guys on the interior go against Vita Vea, he's having an amazing season.
Yeah.
Probably one of our defensive MVPs. To be honest, he sets everyone else up for success. I definitely see Jameis being a lot more flustered this game. We've been playing JPP the last couple of weeks more on that left side, which I've been calling for, having Shaq on the right. And he'll be going up against Ramczyk on that right side, which he's been allowing the most pressures on the team. I think this game will come down to a lot of the scheming that Bowles does. He likes to drop out the defensive ends, Shaq and JPP in the coverage. Having them drop out in the coverage on some of these screen passes and clogging up those lanes will be huge. Devin White crashing in and blitzing in their place. Just mixing things up like that, because Jameis has never been a quick processor. We've seen firsthand as Bucs fans the type of processing that Jameis goes through. Whether he sees it or he doesn't, he just gets flustered and he tries to play hero ball, and he holds on to the ball for a long time and he'll try and make something happen. So if he's holding on to the ball that long and they're throwing that many screens, our defense would with the way it's been playing these last few weeks, I think we're going to cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think if I was the Saints, my game plan would be to slow down our defense, to run draw plays and screens and stuff like that, and then try to get a shot over the top. Eventually set our defense up to kind of keep keying inside and getting a little closer to the line. Because Jameis, obviously, he's always had the arm strength. And if you can set up a situation for him to have a potential pocket just long enough that he can throw one deep, he's obviously capable of doing that. Our defense is just balling right now, too. I felt bad for Justin Fields last week, honestly.
Yeah.
Late into the game, I was like, this poor kid, dude. Just 3 points. So he had 3 picks, 2 fumbles. Like,
yeah,
that's a nightmare of a game. So if we put the same amount of pressure on Jameis as we did Justin Fields, I don't see how Jameis would do much better. I think the only other positive maybe for the Saints coming into this game is we actually did allow a 100-yard rusher for the first time this season last week with the Bears. If the Saints are lucky, some of that will trickle over into this game. Maybe they can gash us for some big runs, but it's going to take more than that. How many points do you need to put up to beat the Bucs? 28? 30?
Yeah.
Is probably a good number, and they put up 13 against Seattle. That's not going to cut it against the Bucs. You can't put up 13 points and beat the Bucs. Typically, where is their offense going to come from? Where are their points going to come from? So as far as the Bucs offensive players against the Saints defense, obviously the Evans and Lattimore matchup is always a big one and one to watch.
Paulson Adebo, their other starting outside corner, he's been taken advantage of a little bit this year. Gardner Johnson as well. Having Tyler Johnson and Chris Godwin against those two guys, they're going to be able to kind of bully them a little bit.
It's an important game. I mean, they're only we're 6-1, they're 4-2. It could be, obviously, I think we're favorites to win this division. We're not like walking away with it though by any means yet. And really, last season we lost to the Saints twice, which really cost us. The spread right now is 5 points. I'm not too nervous about a 5-point spread. I think that's probably doable for the Bucs.
I really feel like this game is a lot more similar to the Bears game than a lot of people are making it. They really do have a lot of people out that are important to their success. We have a lot of people out that are important to ours as well, but we're potentially getting some people back. Obviously, at the top of this list, Antonio Brown has the ankle injury. Bruce Arians came out and said it could be even a couple of weeks for him, that it's more in the heel area. Rob Gronkowski, he was back at practice in pads and helmet today. Levante was back in practice today with helmets and pads on.
Today is Wednesday, by the way.
Yeah. Richard Sherman as well had his pads and helmet. Looking at this list, if we only got Levante back, that would even increase our chances much more, because having him out, I think, makes Devin White even a little worse than he normally is in certain situations where he struggles already. Having Levante there to kind of coach him up and tell him what's going on and communicate with him, like, you have this gap, or, you need to drop back to this area, at least gets him in a better position.
Also, like I pointed out, the Bucs allowed a 100-yard rusher last week, and Levante David was out, so we're obviously feeling that injury in the run defense for sure.
It's really no surprise. Kevin Minter is a good player, but he doesn't have the effect that Levante has on Devin White and that Levante has on the entire defense. Obviously, we got Antoine Winfield back that last game, which that's huge for communication. Him and Whitehead being back there behind the corners is really big, because Whitehead's a powerhouse in the run game. Winfield's a powerhouse in the passing game, and both of them make plays behind the line of scrimmage too.
I think for me, I'm okay with all of these guys missing the game if it means they're healthy and back towards the end of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know what I mean? Like, we're not at this pivotal point in this season where we got to win this game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a big game, and it's obviously you want to win, but, like, if it costs our guys getting healthy to win, I don't really know if that's worth it, because we're going to make a playoff run later.
Right.
That's pretty much a given. We don't need Gronkowski right now. I think we're fine without him. He needs to heal those ribs for December. Antonio Brown,
January.
It would be nice to have him back. I think I would be more comfortable weathering the storm and getting these guys back to way closer to 100% than coming back at 70% and never really getting to 100%. Like, it's just not a good risk versus reward to me. Unless we go on like a 4-game losing streak, then obviously I'm dead wrong.
Yeah.
But
I
would be willing to take that gamble personally.
Yeah, I don't see that happening in
I don't
any
either.
form or fashion.
Right.
Like you said, yeah, behind Rob Gronkowski, you have Brayton OJ, which they filled in great. Maybe not in the blocking department.
I'm fine with both of them.
But yeah, as far as receivers, like, both of them are, solid players. If we wouldn't have gotten Gronkowski to begin with, I would have been fine with them. Obviously, you want to have Gronk back, but you want him in December and January.
Yes.
You want Antonio Brown in December and January. Jalen Darden now stepping up. Huge punt return last game. Get him more involved in those wide receiver screens. And he has wheels too, so you can
That's
send
true.
him deep
Very true.
if you need to. He actually reminds me the most of AB out of anyone else that's on our roster and coming out in the draft. I thought, like, if we were potentially going to lose AB this year to free agency or whatever before the season, like, I was super pumped when we drafted Darden. So I'd like to see him get more opportunities, not only on special teams, but in the passing game. Like, this little stretch that we have, I think lends itself to having these other players step up. Tyler Johnson, Jalen Darden, Cam Brate, OJ Howard.
These could be like good evaluation games for these guys who now get to have playing time, especially if we're up late.
Yeah.
Last week, up 38-3, like, we could have been trying some stuff. We could have been sending Darden deep to see how it works.
Yep.
You know, for sure. Which I thought we played our starters a little bit too long last game, but that's another topic.
Yeah, we probably could have pulled Brady out at halftime and
Probably.
been just A-okay with that one.
Probably.
Taking a look at the impact on the Saints injury list. If Deontay Harris is still out for this game, that's huge for them. I feel like he's probably their best receiver right now, even over Michael Thomas, because he just has that wiggle and that burst, ability to get deep, ability to take, a short pass and make big gains on that. He's huge in the special teams game. Taysom Hill, if he's out, he's been a guy that's been one to burn the Bucs here and there a couple of times. Not having him would be pretty huge in this game against us.
Yeah, I would be a little more worried if he were in the game, just because they can get a little more tricky and squirrely on stuff.
For sure.
It would take the focus off Winston a little bit, so maybe Winston would have slightly more confidence or maybe a little more time with the ball and stuff like that. So I think Taysom Hill being out really makes the Saints a lot more one-dimensional.
Losing Pete, having that backup offensive lineman going against Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh, Will Golston, like, those guys are going to probably take advantage of that interior. And then when you have that happening and the guys we have on the edge converging, it just spells a lot more bad news for them. I definitely think this is a game where the Bucs should be able to cover the spread. I'd like to see the defense keep them to low numbers, cause some havoc on Jameis. I think it's definitely possible, and I feel like this will be a wider margin than people think.
I'm actually really comfortable with a -5. Also, this over-under is pretty low in my opinion. I would probably take that over. I think I said it in our prediction video, like, Jameis always has the ability, and the Bucs always seem to have the ability to allow something really fluky to happen.
True.
We saw it in the Saints game when he came in off the bench and threw a touchdown off of the little trick play they had.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just automatically give up a touchdown right off the bat in games like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, they're going to score 13. That puts them at 20, just off of some flukiness, So it's like, I'll give the Saints 20 points. I'll give us 30. And there you go. You're at your 50 points right there, which is over. That's kind of where I'm at in my head with it. And this is a game Jameis is going to really want to win, obviously. And the Saints are really going to want to win it for him. Also, I think, the Saints are going to want some revenge from last year when we went in there and forced Drew Brees into retirement. Not that that's going to matter. I think we will win. So let us know in the comments, Bucs fans, are you looking forward to watching Jameis Winston try to go up against this Bucs defense for the first time ever? And how do you think he's going to do? Thanks for watching.